Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 133 of In the Pits Paintball Podcast. This podcast is focused on everything that has to do with the paintball scene here in Texas, from professional players and teams to new divisional programs, local tournament series, field owners, Texas-based brands, even photographers and videographers. Every week, we'll have a short and sweet episode with a new topic and new special guest. I'm Christian Dallas Smith. I'm a player for the Texas Titans. In this episode, we are going in the pits with Jimmy Hickey, owner of Findlay Hats and owner of Seattle Uprising. Jimmy, how are you doing this evening? Yeah, absolutely. Funny story for all of the listeners. How we actually got connected was you were doing Q&A on Reddit, of all places. And yeah, I just hit you up there. I said, hey, come on the show. I'd love to have you on. And we got connected through there. But I think that's a first for me, connecting with a guest through Reddit for paintball.
Lot. Nice to see Reddit having a little bit of the resurgence. Obviously, Discords are great too, but
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, I just want to make sure, as I saw my audio levels not moving for anybody who was in the chat. I just hit a button. Could you hear Jimmy's introduction, or if not, then we'll kind of touch on that again. But yeah, so Jimmy here is on vacation in San Diego, and yeah, I mean, we've got the season coming up here in about 3-4 weeks now until Tampa.
coming in hot.
Yeah, how are you feeling leading up to that?
I'm definitely excited for this season. I think towards the end of 24, things were really starting to come into the pieces were starting to fall together. So we're keeping that momentum coming into the season, and I think we're looking as good as we ever have. So definitely feeling good.
Yeah, I mean,
enthusiastic.
Yeah, you guys have every reason to, especially with the trajectory that you were on at the end of the 24 season. I think you made 2 or 3 Sundays in a row, and
just 2 in a row. Yeah,
that's a really strong showing, especially with I guess in the league there was just as much parity at the top that we've ever seen. Like 8 out of the 10 potential final slots were all different teams. The only teams to make it twice were the Russians and X Factor. So it's got to feel good being 2 in a row heading into the season opener.
I mean, it definitely feels good, but there's still a lot of work and a lot of meat left on the bone. But yeah, we definitely finished on a strong note, and I think the team is heading in the right direction, and I think there's lots of pieces that are just falling together, and everyone's looking really good. So I'm about as excited for a paintball season as I've ever been. So it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. So this first one's brought to us by XTPL Events, which I'm if you see me blending into the background here, I'm wearing the Mech X hoodie that they handed out for their Glow events. So for those listening that maybe don't know about you, how long have you been involved in the tournament paintball scene?
So I started playing back in 2001. My first event was in 2003, and it was actually at DBS, which is Seattle Uprising's home field out of Everett, Washington, and now Snohomish, Washington. So it's crazy because our coach Dusty was one of my first people in the sport that I ever met. That first time ever going to a public field, first time ever playing in a tournament. And Dusty and his brother Danny were our ambassadors to this sport. And then fast forward, my entire career they've kind of been around. So, but yeah, started in 2003 playing Young Guns, and kind of branched out from there. Played rookies in the not the Pan Am, XPSL, and then played my first national event in 2007. Again, Young Guns as the Northwest Kids. We had spray painted jerseys, NW Kids. That was back when they had the giant spike in the middle of the field. You familiar with that, Christian?
That's a little bit
big, tall spike.
I've seen pictures, but that is a little bit before my entry into the game.
It was so sick. It was, those 7-man fields were long and big, and I was a front center player, so that big spike was the perfect thing to get to, and I miss those layouts. But yeah, so played Young Guns. slowly kind of, as my friends that I grew up with playing kind of fizzled out, I kind of got into the PB Rack scene. Played with the PB Rack rookie teams and had some of the best times of my life with, the PB Rack crew, and had some good shenanigans with those guys. And kind of through them, and through Tommy Tucker, I kind of had a good experience with my first intro into like the industry side of the sport as well as a player, as well as the like media side of things. So at the time I was, doing photos for PB Rack, I was taking photos at events, and I was competing. So I kind of had this nice little combo of experience. And then we did a lot of events up in Canada. Shout out to the BCPPL. Shout out to all our friends up in Canada. Christian, you ever made an adventure up to Canada to play some ball? Stay just
Never.
in Texas or
No,
go get up north? Oh man.
yeah, the furthest north I've been is for playing paintball, probably Dallas. Unfortunately, I haven't really been out of state.
Oh man, hey, it's a big world out there.
I mean, I've played some WC events. I've obviously traveled to Vegas, traveled to Florida, but it's all been pretty like southern border of the U.S. for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, the Canadians are just super friendly. We had so much fun up there with those guys. And the field setup in particular that we played out, shout out to Ambush Paintball, which just closed their speedball field, hopefully temporarily. But it was like the Mecca. It was so great because they had like a paintball house that we would stay at, and the room just full of bunk beds. And it was, yeah, some of the best times up there. But it was a 7-man format for the most part, and we played a lot of like open, I think, or maybe it was D1 up there, and we kind of put together a fairly competitive roster through that window, and we made some cool connections with the owner of that league, who was also one of the owners of the NPPL, Mike McDonald, another awesome patron of the sport out of Canada. But around this time, this is 2010, I want to say, the old Northwest pro team, the Portland Naughty Dogs, they folded as a team, and basically it opened up the door for a new pro team. And because we had the connections, and because we had a semi-competitive roster, and Tommy Tucker had experience playing with like the Bushwhackers, and had a little bit of like, some good connections in it, we were able to put together a competitive enough roster to put in a bid to get a pro spot and in the NPPL. And that's kind of how the original pro spot came to be for, at the time it was Portland Uprising. And so yeah, I was part of the founding group with that, with Aaron Amrad, Nico Amrad, Tommy Tucker, Rojo Tucker, and yeah, that squad. And so didn't play the first season. I had a new girlfriend at the time, and couldn't choose between paintball and her, my first girlfriend ever, my first serious relationship, So chose her over the sport. And then the next season I chose the sport, and played 2 years with Uprising. Then the NPPL folded. I ended up kind of taking a back seat and not really loving the X-Ball format that was PSP at the time, and started my hat company around that time. And since then, I kind of stayed loosely involved with Uprising over the years in varying roles, sometimes as an assistant coach, sometimes just as like a friend of the team, would pop into team meetings, come to team practices, and stay involved kind of through the re-earning our stripes, getting the pro spot back in the NXL back in 2016, and then kind of yada-yadaing over a decade or so. But around the end of 2022, I knew that Tommy was kind of going to be taking a step back from owning the team and kind of moving it away from the sport of paintball. And I knew that if I didn't step up to kind of fill that role as the team owner, there was a high likelihood that the team might fold or might get sold to another like entity, and then Northwest Paintball would lose the pro team that we had worked really hard to gain, and has some, the people that I care about most in the sport that have dedicated so much time and energy and love into building this team, that I did not want to see it fold. And, while I was in a lucky, I don't know if that's the right word for it, but I was in the position to be able to kind of take over ownership of it at the end of 2022, and have been running it since then. And it's been a pretty rocky road of great times, and it's been also some of the biggest challenges, like financially. It's a lot to run a team, and we're probably one of the least funded pro teams, and one of the least I'm not a retired individual. I'm not sitting on fat stacks of money or anything. It's a financial obligation that is a lot. But I'm really, I'm grateful to be in this position, and I'm grateful to, do what I can for the sport as a whole, but also for our region, and then for, my friends on the team. So, I think we're serving a bigger purpose than just, going out there and playing ball. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the from 2001 to now, the crash course on my paintball
Yeah,
life.
one thing that I found pretty interesting was some of the names that you brought up are like some of the same names that are still so heavily involved in the game today, and it's cool to like being a part of a community, a sport that has those people that just want to keep coming back. And it seems that within paintball specifically, I don't know if it's just because of how small we are, but the people that came up playing the game, 20 plus years ago are wanting to still be involved in some way, shape, or form even today.
Totally. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. Um, that you form these bonds. It's like, it's military combat. It's very like it's a very like or it's simulation combat, but it's like you have these very intense, strong moments with people. So those create bonds really quick, and it's like those bonds. Like you look at your teammates, and you have more than a pretty strong connection with them versus people you work with or friends that you go to school with, or whatever your experience with. Like your paintball like brothers, you've been in the trenches with those dudes, and they have your back. So there's this family mentality that I think is a huge piece of paintball. Beyond it, just it's being fun. It's fun. It's a mental game. It's a challenge. It's competitive. There's all these awesome pieces of it, but I think it all falls back on like the community aspect of it and those tight connections you have. So it makes sense that as you grow up and you lose that third spot, and as you become more and more detached from all those things that made you who you were when you were younger. Paintball is kind of one of those things that's always there. And what's cool is so many people have that feeling to come back to it or stay involved with it for that long. So it's kind of a never-ending, resurgence of those old pals coming back. And it's always great to see those old faces. And you're absolutely right. For my 20-something years in this sport, so many of those people that I started with are still around. Obviously, we lost a lot along the way too, but the ones that come back, it's always great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this year is my 11th year in the game, and I've been fortunate to where I never really took an extended break at that time. I've just been playing straight through from starting in my NCPA college days all the way to where I am now, where we're about to enter Division 2. And I've definitely seen my fair share of friends, rivals come in and out of the game over the years across not just Texas, but the national scene as a whole. But it's cool that like
Mhm.
I can not see a guy for 3, 4, 5 years, and then their name pops up somewhere. Like me being an industry guy now working with project, I can see a guy's name pop up across one of the orders that I'm fulfilling. I'm like, oh hey, he's back in it. It's cool. It's cool to see that.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm a little envious that you got to play some college ball. I always thought that was so sick. Yeah. Did you play on the field that had like the multicolored like sections?
Yes. So the when I played from 2015 to 2019 with the Texas Longhorns, and we were fortunate that
Longhorn.
we were fortunate that Texas was they had a lot of college teams, but at the same time, it meant because of the college rules of like the only like roster restrictions where you had to be a full-time student, no restrictions
Mhm.
on rank or anything like that. So when I was a
Sick.
student at UT, I was going up against VCK, who were all going to Texas A&M at the time. So that was
Yeah, I recall that. Yeah, little different
yeah,
rankings there. But
yeah.
hey, that puts lead in your pencil.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it didn't put any medals on the wall, that's for sure. But it was
Yeah, but
looking back on it, it's cool to say that like, hey, my first tournament, I went up against Ryan Hall and Devin Stewart and Cam McCarty and like some of these other great names.
sick. Yeah, no, definitely that's and I think it's making a little bit of a resurgence, right? I've noticed at least some posts from the is NCPA, so
Mm.
hopefully, that's definitely a aspect of the sport that I could see, being a pretty impactful thing. Those did you guys have funding from the school?
We did not. Well, not entirely. We had a lot of like student funding, and we had a lot of support from like our local fields. Like we would get some help from the school when it came to traveling, but that was about it for us. There were some schools out there that were entirely funded through their college's rec sports league, which was a great thing. And I think now the NCPA is still trying to find their footing again, like post COVID, because COVID completely killed the league with all the different rules across the country as far as could student organizations even meet. There was obviously no traveling at the time, so they're still trying to slowly make their way back. It's
Gotcha.
I do hope that college paintball does come back, as I know there's so many players that got their start in college, even some players that are playing pro now, like I remember back when Columbus Level made pro, several of those players got started all together in NCPA.
Damn. So yeah, it's forming, existing, long-standing teams from college. So makes sense. Yeah, hopefully it makes a big comeback. That'd be rad. Definitely a cool thing for the sport.
Yeah, I hope so. So those were a lot of reasons that people have stuck around within the paintball scene. But what was it for you personally that got you in to begin with?
I mean, I originally played we were like at this like little cabin campground at some lake in central Washington, and the cool older kids were there with their piranhas shooting trees and stuff, and they invited me to go play with them. And but in order to play, I had to go stand 10 feet away and get shot in the back first. Standard paintball initiation, and so I did. It hurt a lot. And then we played some ball, and I shot the guy, and I was just kind of hooked. I came back to my friends, and we all went to Walmart and bought blades and talons, and played in our backyards, and had some. That was basically it. Yeah, just the cool older kids showed me how it was done, and we played in some random big field, and the rest was history. But yeah, no birthday party, no nothing. That was in 2001. So I didn't even go to a public field for 2 years. We just played renegade backyard ball. And our first time at a public field was that tournament at DBS indoor, and playing, in the beginner division or whatever it was. But we were just playing like, we're like 12, 13, I don't know, young. And we're just playing these just full grown, just like men. And I remember it was so intimidating. And we got the sportsmanship award though. So
I love it. Love it.
winning the whole time,
Yeah. So this one is brought to us by the San Antonio 3v3 series, which is going to have their next event this weekend. I am the ultimate ref for that event, and there are 2 more spots available for the beginner division, I believe. So if you haven't signed up yet, you want to get into tournament paintball, come play the 3v3 series, and come say hi. So what are some things that you've noticed have changed within the paintball scene, either for better or for worse, since you started getting involved?
Well, definitely for worse is my glare on this camera. You see that? That's wild. I was just
I,
trying to clean a little smudge, and I added like a
yeah,
giant
I love
glare through the
I love
middle
how
of
it's
it.
changing, but it's still there. It's changing spots every time you wipe it.
Yeah, okay. Let's see if I can sweet spot it. All right, this is my life now. I think I just damaged this computer's. This is my computer and not. So I'm using my girlfriend's brother's microphone. Okay, it's gonna slip over just a little bit. That's gonna bug me. There we go. All right, so changes since. What was the question again from the top? Sorry about that.
What are some things that have changed either for better or for worse since you started getting involved in paintball?
Like in my life or the sport?
Either like the sport, the scene, the community of paintball, like really however you want to interpret it.
So I'd say in my life, it's been a big financial negative. I would be lounging on a beach somewhere if I didn't find this sport. So I don't know if my happiness levels would be the same. I know at the Hormesis Productions, based on the name of the recent movie, but at the premiere at World Cup, the quote, "Paintball has only brought me good things," really resonated with me. I love that. It's brought so many positive things to my life. So, yeah, I'd say the sport as a whole has been positive, even with the little negative with the finances. But as far as the sport as a whole, I think the community aspect of it has been pretty much good the entire time. I don't think, I don't know, like the make paintball violent again and whatnot. I'm cool with it being where it's at now. I don't miss when there's a little bit more like fist fighting at the fields, or when there's a little bit more like aggressive bonus balling, that we saw a little bit of that at Cup. I think the format right now is fine. I really miss 7-man. I would love more 7-man back in the mix, but I'm really grateful that they've added larger bunkers to the field. I'm grateful that there's no more sideline coaching. I think there's lots of positives on the current format. I think the politics of the sport are probably as bad as they've ever been, and I'm pretty jaded and frustrated with how things are ran at a back end level of the sport. I have no faith in the current leadership. Oh my God. I have no faith in the current leadership here. There we go. Look at that. We're clean as a whistle. So yeah, I'm pretty pessimistic about where the league is going. I think that it's kind of like a kangaroo court. I'm pretty bummed out about that end of the sport. And I've seen a little bit behind the curtain as an owner, and with the owner meetings and just how they run things. And even today with the news of the logo being too similar to Major League Baseball and needing to change that, it's just a classic blunder of the professionalism of this sport. And it just sucks spending, like, we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars now on this team. And we want it to go big. We want the sport to be a nationally or an international beast. We want to be on TV. We want to have stadiums packed with fans. We want, our players to all have like a league minimum salary. We want this thing to be a professional sport, and the powers that be from both the league and even the industry, and just it's so backwards and so just, it's a snake eating its own tail here. We're not moving forward. There's no forward progress. And anytime you hear Tom Cole go on a podcast and say that he's listening and that they're trying to make changes, it's just smoke and mirrors. They only care about the bottom line, which is getting people to the events to have registered teams. They're not concerned about the whole future of the sport. They're not concerned about how expensive it is to run a team, or how to help the sport as a whole get to the next, echelon of existence. That's not on their to-do list. They care about people signing up to play the events, and that's it. And anything that's going to mess with that main thing is anti their goal. And they can say whatever, and they can say, oh yeah, you can have an open dialogue with us, and we want to hear your feedback, and and they don't. I am pretty bitter about this, because got a float tank at home. I do a lot of sensory deprivation. You ever float before, Christian?
No, that's above my my tax bracket, unfortunately.
Dude, no. There's, you can like one. I got it direct from the manufacturer on Alibaba. I got it for a killer deal. But you can go to a place and float. It's like $40-$50. If you get 3 floats or whatever, it's for creative thinking, for positive, for mental clarity, for problem solving. Sensory deprivation float tanks are amazing for that. So I spent a lot of time in the tank thinking about business, thinking about creative ideas, thinking about paintball. And I put together this giant manifesto and presentation to present to the league that was a deep dive on our current, when I say our, I mean the sport of paintball's current holdings, or things that are holding it back, and then some active ways that we can tackle how to make things better, as well as some very clear action steps and very deep dive. 100+ hours of work went into this presentation. And they say they have an open dialogue and they want feedback, and you can talk and blah blah blah. And 2 weeks in a row get blown off at scheduled meetings with Tom Cole. And it's just super disrespectful, super like shows disconnect from it. The amount of energy that went into these presentations, the amount of energy that went in, love and care and effort to try to help the sport and try to like help the NXL with some glaring basic entry level marketing stuff that the league is unfortunately just failing to comprehend and failing to act on, and trying to help, and it falls on deaf ears and it's disrespectfully shoved back multiple times and rescheduled weeks out. Trash. That's how this league is ran at both a micro and macro level. End-to-end lack of professionalism. Super frustrating to be a part of. Super frustrating to spend a lot of money on this. And so yeah, I'm super pessimistic on how the league is running the sport right now. And not saying it's any worse than it's been, because I don't think any leagues historically have been great. But especially as an owner, shame on this entire industry. Shame on this entire the league. I'm definitely putting zero effort into helping these guys, and it's and that's not to say I'm putting zero effort into helping the sport, because that's something that still I really care about. And obviously I'm rambling on here that I'm coming from a place of passion because I care about this shit, and because I've dedicated so much of my life to thinking about this and wanting to be a positive force in it, and seeing this such low-hanging fruit that could elevate things. And just to get the cold shoulder on that is not fun. But my efforts are going to be put in a different way, and we have a lot of exciting stuff in the works that we'll hopefully be able to announce in the next couple weeks to months. But yeah, the same effort, the same love, the same care and energy is still being poured into the sport, but in a different way. And we're still a little ways out from being able to announce like where that's going or what that's going to be, but it's not going to be with the current league. So,
well, I know that the league has definitely gone through a lot of, at least for the pro league anyway. I know there's been several teams that have changed hands this offseason, between mergers, buyouts. There's a lot of new team names that are coming into 2025, which I'm hoping is not an indication of like future instability heading into the 2025 season. But I'm sure with someone like yourself who's been involved with other companies through Findlay hats, like the X Games, like MTV, like ESPN, to name a few, I'm sure that like through your company, you've got plenty of opportunities to do like other things with your investments. So what is it that keeps you around professional paintball and Seattle Uprising?
That's a great question, and I hope to have a good answer for that by the end of this year. Like if I had like an extremely like unlimited budget, it would be a no-brainer. Like it would be fine. Like I enjoy the sport. I don't mind burning money. Like it's fine. But the fact that I run a business that is in, a highly competitive space, and like we have a lot of heavy overhead, and there's like a lot of, financial stress in building a business. And even though we've been around 11 years, it's still a dog eat dog world in the business world. So it's like, just burning money on a paintball field, like, or on a paintball team is not an easy decision. And it's like, the other owners and managers with Findlay, like, are not stoked to see this investment just being lit on fire with this team, and it's tough to be like, all right, like, I swear this is a long-term investment. And when I first came in, it was from a place of, it was from a place of knowing that, like, okay, like there's issues with the league, but it's on the cusp of being great. It's on the cusp of getting to the next level. It's on the cusp of, not being a cash net loss. Like this is an investment in the future, and eventually this franchise and this team isn't going to be, in the red. Like there's ways to do it, and the league, is in a position of helping us move there, and we're close to it. And over these last 2 years, I learned that, oh no, there is no future with this league. It's not in it. The current path of it is definitely there's not going to be any, we're not going to be paying these guys from funds from the league's like efforts. That's not happening. There's not, this franchise through this league is not going to be worth anything. So, yeah, I don't even remember the original question of it, but like I guess
like, the question like what is it exactly that keeps you around professional paintball, and more specifically Seattle Uprising?
Yeah, well, I mean, the core of it is I love these guys. I've been playing with these guys for ages. I've known them for ages. We competed against them, uh, played with or against them for, pretty since Young Guns, more or less. And again, I mentioned it early on, but I'm proud to have a professional paintball team out of the Northwest, and I'm proud that we're able to keep the legacy of pro paintball alive in that area. And seeing that, like, the newer teams and the younger kids having people to look up to. Because when I was a kid, we didn't have teams to look up to in the Northwest, or at least pro teams. Our pro team was the Naughty Dogs, and they were jerks. Like, they were not good stewards of the sport. They did not care about the locals. Like, my earliest memory of one of them was picking up my friend by the throat and threatening to kill him because he played on because he didn't know gun hits counted. So a new player, first time out of field, dealing with that, like, crazy. So we did have a team that look up to at the time, though. They weren't pro, but they were close, and that was the Uprising Nation. And that's we're keeping their legacy alive by using that name and continuation. So they were kind of the bad guys in the good way, like the cool, maybe not bad guys. They were the word I'm looking for, outlaws. They wore all black and they had spray painted jerseys, and they were just the coolest dudes. And they would show up at the field with free gear to give out, and they would pass out spray painted t-shirts and jerseys and long sleeves. And, so we looked up to those dudes. So, being able to keep that legacy alive is another huge piece of it that I'm really proud to. Because when I was a kid, Uprising, those are the dudes I looked up to. I looked up to Dynasty. I looked up to Miami Effect. I looked up to, a handful of those pros. But locally, the only team we could look up to was Uprising Nation. So being able to follow in their footsteps and lead this team in a similar way to give back to our community and help it grow and find, see the kids inspired and stoked to have a local pro team is another piece that I'm really stoked to be alive, or to keep alive. So, I'm in it for a good hunk of reasons. And I know I came into this question super pessimistic because I'm clearly bitter about the league situation, and it sucks to just burn money for, like, to feel good, and to, like, have all these, like, abstract reasons for loving this team and loving this sport and staying around it. And that's, the constant battle, I guess, on my end of dealing with the reality of, what is the future in the sport if the league is just, running us off a cliff and doesn't care. And you talk about, so many teams leaving. It's because there's very little reward for spending tens of thousands a year, hundreds of thousands, whatever, in your budget to just, get what we get out of it. And it's tough. You really have to be in it for the long haul. You really have to care. And it's like, I think the reality of running these teams at this top level is really a tough pill to swallow for a lot of teams and a lot of people. And it's like, they get a hard look at themselves and say, wait, have you ever listened to the song Ain't That Pretty at All, by Warren Zevon?
I can't say
great.
That I know that one.
A great song, add it to the list. But it's like, he talks about he's been to all these great places around the world, and it ain't that pretty at all. And you get to the top of the mountain peak, and ain't that pretty at all. It's like, the reality of playing pro paintball is, like, there's a lot of roses around. There's a lot of flowers. There's a lot of great stuff. And being able to, live your childhood dream and do it for that 12-year-old version of you that dreamt of it, there's a lot of positive things around it. But it's like, there's a lot of shit around it too. And I think a lot of teams can't hang with that. And even look at teams that came up for one season, looked around, realized what it was, and bounced, So, that's not to say that that's entirely on the league or entirely on anything, but it's like, it's definitely a sticky situation that, I'm not saying I have all the answers to, as I don't. I'm trying to find those for myself too. But yeah, hey, did I hit that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just that also speaks to just like how special of a sport it is that we all participate in, that even with all of like the frustrations and like maybe we see something that's so obviously wrong with how things are being done around us, but it's the game or the sport or the community that's still keeping us around. So for you, having been involved since 2001 in the sport, and this one's brought to us by QBRofficial.com, you've seen the scene go through a lot of different changes, evolutions, formats, rule sets, even like names of leagues have changed hands a couple of times. So what, in your opinion, which time period do you think was the most electric for the scene, and what was it that made it that way?
Probably like my early NPPL days, '07 NPPL or so. Just because at the time it was like one, it was like it felt more grand. The locations were just a little bit more epic. The whole environment just felt more prestigious. And I think I as a kid, it was truly epic to look around and see the pros and people I looked up to in real life, and seeing them play, and like. So I don't know if that's necessarily that's more of a personal answer for that, as far as like, to me, everything was more epic. Everything was, big and new and exciting. And I'm sure at the top, the politics and all the trash were still about the same. So I'm not saying it was better then than better than it is now. But for me personally, that was, when I look back at the golden age of paintball, I think of that for me. Like even, like, '05 to '07, that window, I think my first national event was the '05 LA Open that I like went to as a spectator, the rainy one in the Pomona Fairgrounds. And just, like seeing them play in the mud, and just, I know the Ion was brand new and was like an attainable, affordable marker, and just like, that era I look back on fondly. Huntington Beach too, that was the best venue ever. If you haven't watched some like recaps and videos from that venue, I can't recommend it enough to go watch some old paintball footage from Huntington Beach, because it was unreal. So I miss the production and the, being mindful of the positions, or mindful of the tournament locations.
Yeah. I think for me, like I didn't play my first national event until, let's see, my first national event was 2018 Dallas NXL at the racetrack, which was one of the several in a row mud fests out of that venue.
Yeah, but that was the bad mud, the sticky mud.
And that was my first event. But I remember that event being so special for me, being like playing D4 5-man. I'm like, I think 20 years old or 21 years old, driving up to Dallas and seeing, the circumstances were a little bit unique. I thought it was just so cool because I remember that event, like Texas teams taking home just about every division. I think it was like Grit took home Division 2. I want to say in Division 3 had like the 3 of the 4 final teams were all Texas teams. In the pros, it was, I think, AC Dallas versus either the Russians or Houston Heat in the finals. It was a great event for Texas, and since then I've seen a lot of like kind of back and forth as far as like the ebbs and flows of like kind of the regional and local levels, which I think for as far as like really capturing like a truly electric kind of paintball community, it, at least for me, who's still kind of at that division where I can be more involved in local and regional, we're seeing that like event series such as like the USXBL, the WCPPL, the MVPS, just to name a few, the last 3 years or so really seem to have a surge in the number of teams signing up for the regional events. So for me, while yes, like kind of the I guess the heyday or the glory days of like the Huntington Beach era events may have been fantastic, but I'm seeing like more and more within the last 3 years that there's been a renewed kind of resurgence on that local, that regional level that I think should be talked about more, because there's a lot of new players coming up into the game that are they're signing up for like D5, D4, and the events are having like 30, 40 teams at a local or regional level. And I think paintball is, at least at that level, is in a much healthier state than maybe some people realize, that that maybe their scope is only on like that national scene.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. We're seeing that in the Northwest as well, at the events like the Ninja Ball series are getting great turnout. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think having a big focus on a strong regional dynamic is really important. And also it's kind of the obvious choice for so many players too, where it's like you don't really get that much more out of playing an NXL versus one of these big regionals. You're still getting great competition. You're spending less money on travel. You're able to sleep in your own bed a lot of the times, like there's a lot of benefits to those ones where they're superior than these big national events too. So, I'm all for a strong regional, setup there. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and kind of my, I know with the talks of like changes that are, or maybe the direction of the National League, my thought has, as of lately, has kind of become more of a like, let's, as far as getting a healthy scene overall, that the National League should really define their scope a little bit better. And what I mean by that is like not trying to cater to every single division, every single player base. Like, should the NXL be like hosting stuff for Division 5 man, or like youth? Should they be doing a whole series for those divisions where really the entry point for those teams and those players should be more focused on like the local and regional level?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they can make whatever mistakes they want. It's not going to help. Like, yeah, the I've committed to not spending any more brain power on what the NXL could or could not do. Not my circus, not my monkeys. I think that's a dumb call to have so many different divisions and all that stuff. A perfect example of that is the random, you know, Tuesday afternoon name change for every single division. Just a very simple example of clear disconnect from how people feel about their divisions and how the sport hive mind as a whole. When you're a D2 player, you take pride in being a D2 player. When you're a semi-pro player, you take pride in being a semi-pro player. And to just come in and just wipe that clear and not really think of the consequences and not think that every single player is going to not take kindly to that is just a perfect example of a disconnect from what's best for the sport and what the average player wants. And yeah, like, they can add 20 more divisions for all I care. It's another example of them not doing fun, good things and whatever.
Right, that's fair enough. So for you, as far as like your playing experience goes, and this one's brought to us by Bem Raps, do you have any desire to one day make an attempt to come back onto the field, either as a divisional or maybe even at the professional level? Or do you feel like your current role within the scene will even allow you to make that switch if it's something that you want?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's so tough to like be around paintball all the time and like spend a lot of money on paintball all the time and spend all this time and energy and care. And then to like, I haven't even shot our new like idols, our team idols. So yeah, I would love to be playing a little bit more, and even like practice squad stuff with the guys would be awesome. And there's obviously a part of me that always wants to pick up the gun and take it seriously, and but I'm realistic with myself, and at least right now I don't have the mental bandwidth to even come close to the level of time and energy and focus it would take to be an asset with the team. So I might pick up and play some random not important practices with the dudes, and maybe some walk-on stuff with friends down in Portland. But at least right now it's it's an afterthought. Sometimes we lay in bed and think of playing and whatnot. So there's a part of me that always has that urge to do it, but at least right now it's not the right time. So being around it, and what's nice is too, like I have other passions, and photography is one of them that's been huge for me. And this last year, picking up the camera again, and I shot every single event this year, and each event I tried to do something special. And what's fun is that's an area that I enjoy, and something that is I can capture the sport through my eyes through photography. So I'm able to, and that's I picked up the camera originally to photograph paintball and grew into my photo career after that. But so being able to take photos is the closest thing I can get to playing, and it's something that I've really enjoyed. So that's kind of scratched that itch for me for getting out on the field, and I still get shot. And but then at the end of the day, I get to share some fun photos. And I don't know if you've checked out any of my shots from this last year, Christian, but I'm definitely proud of a handful of them. We had a few really cool ones. I brought a flash out onto the field in Texas last year. I used a really long lens with like a teleconverter to get some shots at Atlanta, or in Chicago, I think it was. Then did you see that first person photo I took with like someone getting like bunkered through like the lens or holding the marker up and running through?
I'll have to. Where is it posted so I can go find it right now?
It's on the NXL Instagram, but it's also just on my personal Instagram account. I collabed with them on it, but it's probably, scroll a couple pictures down, but it's first person photo of someone getting bunkered, where the camera is like in their mask. And it's a very unique shot. I don't think has ever been done in the sport. We got a full spread. And yeah.
All right.
In the
Yeah.
Great American Paintball magazine.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, got a little.
I'll have to see if I can find this photo. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of great. I'm seeing a picture of there's the giant
like
camera
the
there.
fifth or sixth one down. Let's see, just on my. Let's see. Yeah, it's like in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows down. Yeah, that one.
There we go. Oh yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I can put it up here on the on screen for everybody. Let's see, display capture. There we go. Yeah. So there's the picture for everybody that's watching the stream. So yeah. I mean, being able to still be involved on the field through the lens is great. So for as far as like the other roles that you fulfill, and this one brought to us by Mariachi Aguilas de Oro. So you are the owner of the brand Findlay hats, which has seen a surge in popularity within the last few years, not just within our paintball scene, but also globally. So tell us more about the story of the creation of the brand.
Nice. So Finley's my middle name, and as a way to pay tribute to my grandpa, Harold Findlay. He passed away right around the time the brand launched. So I wanted to pay tribute to him. He had no like male heirs, so like the name kind of would die with me. So I wanted to keep the name alive through that. And the origin of it came from when I was like in middle school. I went rafting down the mighty Toutle River. Have you seen you familiar with Mount St. Helens,
Yes.
Our volcano in Washington? So the foothills of that, like for some runoff from there, there's the Toutle River, and it's like if you've ever seen footage of like the explosion, there's usually like footage of like bridges falling and like trucks and stuff in this big river that's long. Yeah, there's a lot of debris from the chaos that happened after the eruption, and that's where we would raft, and there'd be like giant rebar from like a house's foundation. You have to like go around it, and cars submerged in the ash. It's crazy, and there's anyways, we'd always go rafting there, and I one of the more like particularly dangerous sections, the Hollywood Gorge. It's kind of like a rite of passage to survive it because people would die there like every year. And I went down the Hollywood Gorge, and of course, our little Walmart boat didn't work for us, and it flipped, and I lost my favorite hat. It was this beautiful quilted Burton hat, and I had to spend the rest of the day like without my hat on, which sucked. But I also had a really embarrassing haircut. It was like a reverse Friar's haircut, like a donut basically on my head. And this is like backwoods Washington or Washington, as they would say. And I just got made fun of all day. I didn't like it. So anyways, next time I went rafting, I didn't want to lose my favorite hat. So I took my shoelaces out of my shoe. I cut a hole in the side of my hat, and then I laced it up like a little chin strap, and went through the Hollywood Gorge and survived and didn't lose my hat. And then every time I went rafting or out on the water, I'd wear that water hat. And people always said, man, where'd you get that? And I said, I made it myself. And they said, well, if you ever make more, I'll buy one. And then like a decade later, I decided to make more. So that's the origin of it. So if you don't know, the Stampede lace on the front of our hats here is also designed to be brought down around your chin. And then you can also change out the colors on the lace. You can also get different clips. They also have a hidden pocket and a lifetime warranty. And we also collaborate and sponsor teams out there. So if anyone wants to get some custom hats for their team, hit us up. We need paintball money.
I love it.
But yeah, we started in the living room back in 2013 and slowly grew from there to the garage. Then from the garage in 2017, we got our first warehouse space. And now we got a bigger warehouse space and a store and a community of like 100,000 plus people we call the Findlay Force. And we even have like a 7 or 10 man team that we occasionally play. We've done, I think, 2 or 3 NXLs. We won 2014 10 man open. And so that's cool. I got, yeah.
Love it. Yeah. I'm going to message the general chat here in this Discord. My wife actually texted me. She took a look at the website. She said, "Ooh, I want this hat." And it's the Shadow Hunter hat, which is the Darth Maul.
Yep.
So
nice. Yeah, can do. We'll get one sent over your way ASAP. We got you.
Love it. Yeah, she's doing a happy
Yeah,
dance.
gotta hook up the producer.
Yes.
Yeah, I know she's been working hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she has. She's entertaining the puppy in the background right now. So yeah, we gotta keep her happy. So yeah, as far as like your day to day as the owner of Findlay Hats, like walk us through that. And this one's brought to us by another player who was previously with Austin Notorious, Jared Sherman, and his website texanhemp.com. I believe he's playing with Jackpot this upcoming season in semi-pro. So walk us through what Walk us through what your day-to-day looks like any given week between Findlay Hats. I know you have another brand, Sunrise Superfoods, and then I guess your involvement with Uprising as well throughout the week.
Yeah, so a lot of moving parts. I mean, I don't know. I like to sleep in a little bit. I stay up late, work late, and then I wake up, around 8:30. Try to get a nice, trying to get a little bit more fit. So hit the treadmill for like an hour or so. Maybe lift a few weights. Ideally, eat a few steaks. Doesn't happen ever, but in the concept of lifting weights and eating steaks, I like. Yeah, try to get to the warehouse around 11. Our production team had already been grinding for a little bit there and kind of checking with the guys, see what they're up to. I just do warehouse stuff all day. I got my office in the back, post up, and just do a mix of stuff between Findlay. I have my day kind of more or less segmented to where there's chunks for Findlay, chunks for Uprising, smaller chunks for Uprising, usually more in the evening when we have our meetings and sponsorship stuff and media stuff. And then we're also like one of the more exciting projects that's kind of devoured a little bit more time, at least for R&D lately, has been for our like paintball sub brand, which we're looking at kind of introducing called Findlay PB. We recently took over PB Rack Clothing, so we got all of their like products as well as their like IP and all that fun stuff. And we're slowly branching into like a more sub brand of Findlay that's just Findlay PB. So not only are we going to kind of expand on what's there with what they've built over the years since 2005, with some great pants, pads, and packs, but we're also with Findlay PB. We're planning on expanding into just a handful of new products that some aren't on the market at all in the sport that I'm really excited to release. And hopefully by Tampa we'll have like at least our soft launch ready to go. A handful, like one of the lower hanging fruit I can discuss now is I'm excited about. We want to have an entry level tournament style pant that instead of spending like 100, 150, 180, whatever on pants, it's going to be like a tournament pant for like $60. And, it'll be lightweight, easy to run, easy to use. And so basically just trying to fill like gaps in the market and try to hit a few things. Another one, like we got these really nice waterproof socks that we're about to launch. We noticed like everyone on our team, whenever it's wet out, we have to like buy stuff on Amazon. And it's like, wait, hold up. Why don't we just make our own and make better ones? So, just little things like that, trying to hit some little niches in that. But yeah, the day-to-day at the warehouse, we have our dogs running around. It's great. Rhino and Ladybird, and there's a bunch of other little shop dogs. We have like the best team. We've been around 11 years, so we've really learned like what works and what doesn't work. So we have a really just like chill group. I love everyone that's at Findlay, and we have our retail store, so we have customers coming in there throughout the day. So it's always nice to kind of check in on that. But man, I mean, my day to day would be pretty boring to have like a stop motion of, because I'm generally like on a computer or like walking around putting out fires, So yeah. Hopefully at the end of the day, I can hop in that float tank and decompress and think about some big picture stuff. But that's probably the only little curveball in the day.
I mean, that sounds like a lot of different, no pun intended, but a lot of different hats that you're wearing throughout the day, especially with, I mean, Findlay PB, which it's exciting to hear kind of the PB rack stuff, which I know had kind of a smaller following in the scene. That and those IPs starting to get revived. So are you either with Findlay PB, Findlay hats? Are y'all going to be operating booths at the NXL, or what's your plan there as far as
just like last. Sorry. Just like last year, we're going to do the same thing where we have an event or a booth at every event, as well as make the NXL event hats, as well as the podium hats, which shout out to the Texas greats, Paintball Fit, got to rock them on the podium. So it was cool to see, those podium hats, actually on the podium, because we made them for every event this year, but talk about professionalism, they never made it to the podium. So, we spent a lot of time and energy on these fancy hats that never got there, except for with Fit. So big old shout out to Fit. Those guys are rad. Shout out to Texas Paintball. Cool spot. But yeah, we'll have a booth at all the events, and it'll mostly be just a good spread of that stuff. Most of the PB Rack stuff is just for sale locally at DBS right now. And as it resurges, we'll probably sprinkle more in, and we'll distribute PB Rack. We're not going to rebrand. Excuse me. We're not going to rebrand PB Rack or anything. It's going to still be like its own entity, and we'll just be a distributor for it.
Gotcha. All right. Here in the chat, Scotty West says the stuffed salsa's in the house. He says he made you some salsa out in Florida. Yes. I guess what did you think?
Yeah,
of it?
the stuff, the best salsa in the game. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that. It's it definitely hit good stuff. I forget the mango salsa, and I forget what the other one was, but it was pretty like just a hot red one. But yeah, both were super good. Brought them back to the house, munched them there. Real good setup. Thanks for the stuff.
Yeah, Scotty needs to start coming back out to these USXPLs. I keep coming around looking for a way to bring some jars home, and he's not there. So I need some.
Yeah, get out there, Scotty. What's the deal? Hopefully, he's just too busy doing other things with the booming.
Yeah, hope business. Hope so. Verbal's in the chat, says Jimmy's the best.
Hey, what's up, Verb?
Yeah, I got lots of love here in the chat for you.
Hey, thanks, guys.
So this one is brought to us by our boy, and I see he's here just listening in on the call with us, Paintball Kumite, Colt Roberts. So you... What's up, Colt? You are the owner of Uprising, and you sometimes operate as multiple roles for the organization. So tell us, what all you do with the team.
Well, hold up. If Colt's in here, there's a good Colt story I got that's way more relevant or fun. The Colt was the first pro paintball player that ever responded to a question from me on the internet.
Wait, what?
Doing a live stream. Yeah, you were doing, I forget what, I think you were with the Naughty Dogs at the time, and I don't remember the question, but you were doing like a live stream or something at one of the events, and that was like when there was like a chat in the queue or whatever. And
that was such a nice guy.
I don't really remember what it was, but I asked you something, you answered back, and so I've always had that, that's like a core memory of online paintball.
Hell yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, glad to have you here. Yeah.
I'm just spying, just seeing what's going on.
This is all good. Feel free to hang out, homie.
Yeah, we had some juicy intel earlier. So,
ooh, what'd I miss?
Just general trash talking of the league. Gloves off right now. I'm feeling feisty.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah. Anywho, so that's a walk down memory lane. And sorry, Christian, what was the question? The day-to-day with Uprising stuff?
So yeah, I guess all of your roles and responsibilities with the team.
All right, so we actually have a full breakdown of the roles and responsibilities for the team, which has been awesome, and huge shout out to just all the dudes on the team that are handling biz. It sucks because most of the guys are up in the Seattle area, then we have a few people that travel, but I'm down in Portland, so I don't get to see the guys as frequently as I would like in person. So there's a lot of back and forth Discord action. So I handle all of our like marketing, all of our sponsorship discussion, all of our jersey design, all of the fun logistics, which luckily my girlfriend Erica is awesome at that stuff and helps me with it. So deal with our finances, like a lot of the not fun stuff, and then also a lot of the super fun stuff, like when it comes to our content creation and dreaming up what our jersey designs are going to be, or what our product lines are going to consist of, and just like the general direction of kind of the team's high level marketing or direction on that end. I'm not, I don't have that paintball IQ, and we got some great coaches that lead the charge when it comes to that. Huge shout out to Dusty Court, big old shout out to the machine, Tyler Mashad. And it's and big shout out to Lucas Sylvester, Aaron Amrad. All those guys handle the high level of actually organizing this team to play great. So I rely on those guys, and I don't step in their way on that side of things. It's like my job to stay out of their way and let them handle biz. And it's an honor to work with those guys and see them do what they do. It's a mix of stuff, a lot of admin level stuff that's just not super exciting, and a lot of the time also is thinking about what are we going to do for the sport as a whole, which kind of is the stuff we were talking about earlier, where I've definitely dedicated too much time in that float tank where you're thinking about nothing but trying to think big picture stuff for this sport, and how can we not just make the investment in this team better, but the investment in time, energy, and love that everyone in the sport is putting together. And it's funny because this topic is such a pressing issue. It's just having so much healthy discussion about how the sport can be better. One, shows that we have a great community and a great hive mind that's all working towards something great, but also shows that there's some glaring issues that we need to be addressing and need to be moving on with and working on. And a part of my Uprising designated focus is on just the sport as a whole. And it's a weird position to be in, where there's only so much power that comes with running a team. But then through the network of other owners or other, captains of teams or people in the industry, there are other doors there. So, a lot of my time is focused on that too. Like where can I benefit the sport? Where can, the sport be? Cause again, like I touched on earlier, it's like, yes, I have pure motives in keeping this team alive and being involved with people I care about and, helping, but also there's like the reality of the business end of it, where it's like, no, like we do want to figure out a solution for this to where there's, a tangible return here, where it's at least like a break even project. It's a stupid investment, and that's why we're losing teams. That's why people look around. It's not that pretty at all, because it's you can have fun and play the sport, and you don't have to be at the top level to get that same level of satisfaction and joy out of it. And that's another inherent issue. That's another ramble on what I do running Uprising. Sure, a few other. I run all of our social media accounts. I deal with our analytics on that end, and we have a really fun project. Huge old shout out to Kinetic for one of our new sponsors this year. We have a really fun project underway with them that we're actually starting this weekend. We're going to be filming some really exciting kind of innovative content, and Rob at Kinetic is you've been leading the charge on that. So that's been nice having someone else kind of putting effort into trying to, create some gold and tell some great stories with this team. So I'm excited for that as well. Shout out to Kinetic.
Yeah. Shout out to Rob. He's a previous guest of the show. They've had some great product. I think, the Swag Jackers, who used to be Caprock Cavalry, were one of their first sponsored teams here in Texas. And so, shout out to Rob. So kind of along those similar, not to beat a dead horse here, but as far as like the role of being an owner of a team in the league, this one brought to us by 71 Designs. What do those like owners meetings look like, as far like if they exist at all? What kind of things are you discussing, or what kind of things do you have like the ability to have any input on?
When the fuck did we get ice cream? Owners meetings?
If they exist.
Fairy dust.
And then as I guess a follow-up to that question,
so
like,
hold up. I do have a little bit to touch
Okay.
on that. I can say a little on that. Last year after the Vegas event, there was the whatever that, event was the next day.
Mhm.
Paintball, like not extravaganza, but whatever the industry event was, and they had like an owners meeting and they had a media meeting, and it was really my first taste at the first time I really got to see behind the curtain on how they make the hot dogs in this industry or in this league. And the presentation was just so painful to sit through. I stayed a whole extra day to hang out in this room for 45 minutes, maybe an hour with most of the other owners and Tom and Jason. And it was just so eye-opening. It was the first time where I really had the reality of, how things were in the sport really hit me. It was just the presentation and the general direction of it was, if it was a high school presentation for a basic level, entry level marketing class, it was, and again, like part one of the meeting was all about like kind of the media input and the needs for teams to have a better social media presence and stuff like that. If the presentation that I had to sit through was a high school assignment in a marketing class, it would have received a failing grade. And that's the direction of our league. The basics, like we were handed a scanned, like black and white, blurry image of like the analytics of the team's social media content, and then presented with some very just all over the place reasons for why we need to post more stuff and how it's better for the league if we post more content. And then Paintball Fit was actually given the example of the perfect paintball team of content. And it was funny because it was all Verbal, big old shout out to Verbal, best in the game. But it was all his content that they were using as the analytics as he, collabs with Paintball Fit and was, using that as an example. So it's like, that was horrible. And then we went into like discussing, that was my wheelhouse. So I know about media, I know about marketing, I know about like social stuff. That's my space. I live that. That's a huge piece of what I do. I'm the main ad buyer for our company when it comes to advertising. I'm connected to modern marketing, and just seeing that was the league's approach on that was just very eye-opening. And then from there, we went into the meeting talking about like the future of the sport and where things are going. Again, 1 hour, dedicated a whole day to this, and it was 1 hour dedicated to it. There were some bright minds. I didn't talk in this meeting at all because I'm new to that scene, right? I was not the right person to talk, but I listened, and it was insane how many good ideas were brought up and how they would either be immediately shot down or, oh yeah, well, we tried that and it didn't work. Oh, there's no way that would work. Or the worst of all was, oh yeah, that's a good idea, but if we were to do that, then all these other leagues are going to imitate us, and if we make one change on our end, then the other into the pro division, it's going to make all the other leagues under us switch to that, and then we're going to lose market share. And again, that falls back on the topic we talked about earlier, where they just care about attendance and they don't care about what is actually going to move the needle forward, or what is actually like what people want. So yeah, it was a very one-sided bummer of a owners meeting, and that's the only owners meeting in 3 years with this I've been involved with. There was another one a couple weeks ago where they did the team draw, where it's basically like they put the names in a hat or a trophy and pull the names out for who's going to play in Tampa. And I get to talk about professionalism in the league. I get a message or an email the day before, hey, be ready tomorrow at 10 a.m. We're going to do the draw. And I'm like, oh, it's 6. So, wait, I'm done. Come up on my computer, 9:55, 10 o'clock, waiting for the email, refreshing it every 20 seconds, like ready for it. Nothing. 40 minutes later, and I emailed Jason immediately, like 5 minutes, and said, hey, I haven't got the link yet. And then nothing. And then at 45 minutes later, I get a response, text back from Jason, and like, oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I sent that to you. I could have sworn I did. And then he called me, and big respect to Jason for calling me. No beef or anything about this, but and he called and talked and walked through the stuff, kind of filled me in on what I missed. But, and then I don't want to throw him under the bus for some of the stuff he said, but it was, I had a consultant there I've been working with in the off season to talk about this big proposal and this big like professionalism I'm trying to bring to the sport. I brought in an outside consultant to witness this stuff and try to provide feedback and kind of they wanted to get a good grasp for how this is looking. They had to listen to just some stuff that is inappropriate or any professional environment, let alone like a league commissioner talking to a team owner. And like, the consultant, yeah, I was embarrassed, and it was tough to be like, yeah, this is the sport that we're trying to make big. This is how it looks. They don't send you the invite and then say stuff like that on the phone. And so those are my 2 owners meetings, and that's it. And for those of you just joining us, I scheduled multiple meetings. I kept getting pushed back to go over this huge thing. And again, there's no open, healthy dialogue with the team owners. There's nothing. The powers that be are the powers that be. And again, it's an illusion if they want to actually, listen to, the little Peabodys like me.
I have 2 questions before I get out of here, if you don't mind, Christian.
Yeah, go right ahead, Colt.
Well, I'm just going to address the elephant in the room with Jimmy here. When are we going to accept from being a fan? I'm a fan of Uprising, as you know, friends with a lot of guys on the team. When are we actually going to look at the real problem with the team and realize that we got to have Creek back? Like, when is that actually? When are we going to just accept that that's what we need to do here? Because Creek has got to be back on the team.
Yeah, get him on the wire. I love that guy. He was one of the first, I think the first person that I was the person who broke the news that he had the spot on the team. So I got a special connection with Creek. I love that guy. And it's just one of those situations, life got in the way, but we would love to have him back. He's got an open invite. He knows it. He pops around. He's in the scene.
There you go. And question number 2, if somebody wanted to get, like, for instance, if I want to get some X Factor hats made, what is your minimum order quantity? And is there like an initial logo type fee, or how would I go about doing something like that?
Yeah, so our typical minimums for like brands are 24, for teams are 12. So easy.
Okay.
And
easy.
We hook up the pro teams, we got you. So
we'll talk offline on that. I was just curious.
Short list of good ones, but absolutely, yeah. And that's for any teams in the sport. We can do 12 hats minimum, and it's usually like a $30 logo setup fee for most people just to get it digitized. But then you own that logo, the digitizing, so you can get it digitized or use it, in other places if you ever need to.
Perfect. And that's all I had.
All right.
Well, I got to go do nerd stuff with one of your ex-players. Well, Tim played on your team, right? Brusselback?
Yep, I love that guy. Yep.
Okay, yeah, it's D&D night, and he's our DM, so I got to scroll out of here.
I never liked playing against that guy. He always had my number.
There you go. All right, boys. So thanks for letting me infiltrate. I will. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks, Colt.
Yeah, you too.
Later.
See you in Tampa.
Yep, see you in Tampa.
All right. Thanks, Colt, for stopping by there. Jimmy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, as far as the hats go, I definitely, besides getting this one from my wife, I'm gonna have to hit you up with, some stuff that me as a player that is involved in like kind of running a divisional team that we're trying to like get more and more involved with getting our name out there. Maybe, I've consulted with other teams in Texas that have gone through the process of filing as like a nonprofit. Specifically with, I think it's a 501c3, which is a nonprofit with the mission of furthering amateur sports competition.
Sick.
So just being able to do things like that. So in your experience as a business owner, as a professional team owner, what are some things that like divisional programs out there can do to help kind of increase their presence, their following, and maybe even attract some sponsors along the way while doing so?
Nice. So content is king. That's one huge piece of it. Like the teams that are out there creating content, making names for themselves, putting, a face to the team, and, just being active is definitely huge. Like as, for Findlay, we sponsor people from all different walks of life. We have an alligator wrestler. We have some of the top like pro skaters in the world. Shout out to Aaron Jaws Hamoki. Shout out to David Gravett. Like we have some, some experience with this, and it's like, we sponsor big names, but we also sponsor micro influencers and people with smaller followings and people that, are passionate about what they do and, create cool content with people wearing our stuff. So this is me coming at you from a brand that's looking at a team versus a team owner that's trying to help a divisional team. But as a brand, it's like, we care about people that are actively promoting us, that are wearing our products, that are creating cool videos, that are sharing with friends, that are getting unique affiliate or discount codes and sharing those with people. It's like, it's got to be a symbiotic relationship. It can't just be all, receive. It's got to be give, So I think being mindful of what value are you actually bringing to those sponsors? What are you actually doing to help them out? And, are you just wearing the stuff or are you actually tagging them in things? Are you actually creating cool videos on them? Are you getting people stoked on it? It's like that stuff that brings value to the sponsors. And then it's a no-brainer where it's like, oh, damn, you brought us like 10 new customers from this alone. Thank you. Like, yeah, like we can totally sponsor you guys. We can totally figure something out there. So look at the areas of like, if you want to, on the sponsorship end, if you want to be, providing value to your potential sponsors, start with providing value, then go for the sponsorship. Don't just go right out the gate. And I'm not talking like, okay, you just get little discounts from people because you signed up and you have to wear their shit head to toe. I think those are also like, I think there's way too many teams that get really excited about, oh, cool, I got a 15% discount on stuff, but now I'm locked in and I have to wear all their stuff head to toe and have to do with all this stuff. And I understand the appeal of wanting to be like, affiliated with a big brand, or, it adds some legitimacy to you and it can make it feel like it's kind of like a smart decision because you're now, affiliated with one of the top 3 brands in the sport. But at the same time, it's like, how much is your dignity worth, man? Like, like, is it really worth that 15% savings to have to wear that stuff head to toe? Is it really worth it? And that's why you look at Uprising, it's like, we're not plastered in anything, like when I took over the team, we went to the blackout route and we took all the logos off and we dropped a lot of our small sponsors. Yeah, that falls back on the brand philosophy of the team. But back to the divisional stuff, I look at, what can you do to provide value for the field you play at? What can you look to provide value with? If you want to get good like scrims in with higher division teams, how can you provide value with those guys? I know we have like lower division teams that want to come out and practice us all the time. It's like, if you want to get good scrims in with a higher division team, what value can you bring to those guys? What can you get creative with it? Like, if someone offered us like, hey, we'll come out and we have a filmer who would put together a little video part with you guys. Like, would you mind playing some scrims against us? Like, just thinking outside the box, what can you do to provide value if you want to get good games in against higher teams to get better stuff? Also, like hiring coaches is another huge one. Like a lot of the pro players will want to work with divisional guys to help them. And they want to be, they want to see the people succeed. So working with a coach that's like from your local pro team or higher division person can be huge. And obviously, working with the best players you can is going to accelerate your skill set. So that's something that is just such a low hanging opportunity that it more teams need to be taking, advantage of, because that's a huge, you're gaining years of knowledge and experience based on what they're saying there. And it's like, yeah, you can learn it the down and dirty way. You can, get the shortcut, you still have to earn it, but you still have, they can open up a lot of doors through that. So definitely hire pros. That also helps that also helps your local scene out. That helps your pros, be able to make a living off of this sport that they love. So it's like kind of full circle there. I think those are some pretty big ones. Give value to give value to the brands and the field you play at, and work with pros.
Yeah, for sure. And one team that's local to me here in San Antonio that I do want to give a shout out to, because I think they are doing all those things, are the Gunners, who they've been around for a couple of years. This past year, I want to say they won the D5 series for NXL, and they podiumed every event that they played this past year. And
nice.
Have had a lot of success. They've been working really closely with Jesse Stevens from AC Diesel. They've signed him as their coach for this year. And just recently, I think about a month or so ago, they announced a sponsorship deal with Tito's Vodka, which is, I think, definitely an excellent opportunity for them. Like getting creative, not just looking for sponsors like within paintball, like really getting out there, because there's a lot of other opportunities out there if you just like put together hey, this is what my team is, this is what we can provide you, and like go shoot your shot with some of these other like businesses, especially in your
Totally.
local area.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. That love seeing outside stuff coming into the sport, and it's funny because I guess a little piece of my bitterness comes from it's like Findlay is an outside entity that came into the sport, and while I'm affiliated with paintball, it's like Findlay's not a paintball brand. We're outside money that came in, took over a team, and sponsored the league, and get treated like as Nate would say on our team, get treated like dog water. So it's a bummer. Like we are outside money. We are that outside business that came in and wants to invest in the sport and wants to make the sport better and wants to see it grow. And it's like, well, nope. But cool that those guys found some outside funding. That's cool. And definitely, get creative with it. And that's a perfect example of it. There's lots of, people workplaces. You got connections everywhere. You just gotta know how to use them to your advantage.
Yeah, for sure. So we are getting towards the end of our time here. I know, Jimmy, that you said you have a hard out here in a couple of minutes. So everybody that's in the chat, if you have anything you want to ask him, get it in there now.
Yeah, and I'll also, if I miss anything, I'll be happy to pop in and just type them out. I guess if it's on a YouTube live thing, it wouldn't stay. But happy to answer any questions later too.
Yeah, for sure. So one question I do want to make sure I get to is this one brought to us by Get That Shot, who's a photographer, videographer down here in the Valley, has been doing stuff recently with HK Army, with Infamous, Pro DNA. So be sure to message him on Facebook or Instagram if you're needing media coverage at the upcoming NXL Tampa or USXBL season opener. So, Jimmy, this is one that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and it kind of helps me keep track of anybody that may be flying under the radar or otherwise going underappreciated within the scene. So, is there anybody in paintball? It could be a team, a player, a brand, a project, a community member that you think deserves more recognition for what they're doing?
Philip, I get his last name right, Swindell. Yeah, Hormesis with Hormesis and Great American Paintball, and just he's awesome. So huge shout out to him. He's one of my favorite photographers in the sport. I love seeing his work. I love all of that. What he's creating. He definitely brings a cool eye to the sport, and it's definitely like a breath of fresh air to see what he does there. Philip Stretch Baker. I love that guy. He's just one of the few old dogs that's been around since I was doing photo stuff consistently. And I love that he's still around and still, like, I don't think he gets the credit and love he deserves. The fact that he should be able to get a media pass through there super easy. And every single event, they're like, give him a hard time. It's like, no, like this guy is good for the sport to be there. So yeah, I love Philip. Gary Baum, the grandpa of paintball photography. These are all photographers because I think a lot of the photo friends are slept on, especially with the world of digital media and video stuff being such a beast now. Gary did so much for the sport as a photographer, and just gave back and put a lot of time and energy into capturing this sport and getting some of the best images of it over the years. So I think those three, quick, easy, good ones.
Absolutely. All right. So let's see. Another question I have here, which is brought to us by another local Texas brand, Hydra. Speaking of them, so is what throughout your entire paintball career could be as like up to you to interpret, could be as a player, as a team owner, as a photographer. What has been your single favorite moment?
Toss up between winning our first ever Young Guns event is in 2004 Empire Series Young Gun event where it was like a round robin. We beat the first team, and then all we had to do in the second game was just grab the flag. And I grabbed the flag, and it was that really epic feeling. And yeah, so first ever win was awesome. And then second one would be we won the Paintball Asia League Series, the PALS event in the Philippines as Team USA back in 2010. 10 or 11, and I touched on that story on the Paintball Passport podcast, but that feeling was just it was such a battle and it was such a grind. So those are both of those moments of just like, the feeling of winning there was really great. And we've had some other fun wins over the years with friends, but those two really stand out. Yeah.
Oh yeah, shout out to the young guns out there. Which for us, this I think it was 2 weeks ago now. The paintball combine took place here in Texas over at Houston Wasteland Paintball, John Jackson's and Anthony Vitale's field, and they had a massive showing. So many Texas youth players ended up getting invites to the Team USA tryouts. Just to name a few, I mean, we've had Luke Staley and Cameron Blanco, who were on Team USA last year, so they got the bid to go back. Also, young Hadley Korsman, who, as far as I know, we've never had a female player on the U16 or U19 teams.
Nice.
Her being, she had her rookie year with Dallas Vibe this year at 15 years old and was starting in the World Cup at the finals. So shout out to Hadley. Shout out to, all of, there were so many Texas youth players that ended up getting invites to the Team USA tryouts that I don't have all of their names, and I would hate to miss anybody. But yeah, Texas had a really strong showing, and nice. I think the youth that are coming into the sport is definitely a great sign.
I think so too. And I think another thing, Christian, that I actually didn't touch on earlier, and credit where credit's due, the fact that the WNXL exists is so great. It's awesome that there's so many more women involved in the sport. And it's something that I'm really stoked to see, and I think is a really great sign for the sport. Just like the Young Guns, audience being booming as well. So huge shout out there. That's positive sign there.
Absolutely. All right, so I think I know we're kind of getting to the end of our time here that we have available. So this final question is brought to us by Jell Stewart's brand Compete. Message him on Facebook or Instagram, mention In the Pits for 10% off of your order of soft goods. So Jimmy, thank you so much for your time. Do you have any last shout outs or things you'd like to say before we sign off?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the entire Seattle Uprising team. I'm really grateful for all the guys, both the vets that have been there from for years, and also shout out to the new guys on the team. I'm really excited to have such a great core group of dudes, and I'm honored to be able to be an important person on the team and be a member of it. So huge shout out to just the guys on Seattle Uprising. Shout out to our developmental program. We've been developing like some divisional teams in the Northwest. Shout out to Doodlebug Sports for hosting us. If you're in the Northwest, you got to go to that field. They're the best in the biz. Shout out to the Northern Lights, the WNXL team that we sponsor. Love those guys, and I'm really excited to see their season this year as well. Shout out to all the great people at home listening to this podcast. You're what makes paintball great, and I hope you took some positive stuff from this. And friendly reminder, I'm always here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, Jimmy Hickey, Hickey, or email me, jimmy@findlayhats.com. And if you want some custom hats, we got your back.
Awesome. I love it. So I think that does it for our show. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to go follow Jimmy at Jimmy Hickey on Instagram. Also follow Seattle Uprising at Seattle Uprising PB, and follow his brands at Findlay Hats. And I know we didn't get to talk about them very much, but also at Sunrise Superfoods, all on Instagram. So what other guests would you all like to see on the show? Be sure to leave a comment down below. While you're at it, hit that subscribe button. The show goes live weekly here on youtube.com/@inthepitspaintballpodcast, and recordings are posted to YouTube, Amazon, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify the next day. Quick shout out to my partner and sponsor tier subscribers on Patreon. FU Athletics, Get That Shot, Paintball Comité, Compete, BEM Raps, Hydra, XTPL Events, Mariachi Águilas de Oros, San Antonio 3v3 Series, 71 Designs, TexanHemp.com, and QBRofficial.com. One last shout out to Colt Roberts for hopping in here during the episode. Appreciate you, homie. And we will see you guys next week for episode 134. Jimmy, thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Christian. Have a good one.
In the Pits has new Patreon spots opening up. Whether you want to get directly involved with the show, have a product or brand you want to promote, or just want to show support, In the Pits Patreon has tiers for all levels. Head to patreon.com/inthepitspaintballpodcast to check out the supporter, sponsor, and partner tiers. I'm super grateful for everyone's support over the years, and signing up for a Patreon subscription helps me do more cool things with the show. Enjoy the episode. In the Pits is partnered with 71 Designs, owned and operated by veteran Wade Martin, and partnered with fellow Texas brand Compete. 71 Designs can take your ideas for soft goods, merchandise, and casual wear and make them a reality. Message 71 Designs on Facebook or Instagram to get started today. In the Pits is partnered with BEM Wraps. Behind every mask is a unique and creative player. Tap into it when you order your next custom headpiece. Their Build-A-Band lets you communicate with them one-on-one to make your order just the way you want, all the way down to the color of the stitch. Check out their Instagram at BEMWraps for drops and build videos of them working on orders. They offer very competitive pricing, so reach out today to get started on your own one-of-a-kind headpiece. In the Pits is partnered with Hydra. Designed by players for players, you can outfit yourself in Hydra gear from head to toe. Have confidence that when you make a purchase from Hydra, you are purchasing a well-tested and well-thought-out product, trusted by several top teams, including World Cup Pro Champions Paintball Fit. I personally recommend their Hydra Black knee pads. Purchases over $100 receive free shipping. Head to hydra.fit to browse their selection and discover the Hydra mentality. In the Pits is partnered with Texas Pro player Jared Sherman. In a world where saving time means making money, Jared's local seed bank is making waves in Texas, carrying a large assortment of Texas-approved varieties for use in the Texas Hemp Program, seeds for novelty use, as well as premium genetics bred for solventless extraction. Jared Sherman has the ability to satisfy even the most sophisticated collectors. Head to his website and use code INTHEPITS for 10% off of your orders. In the Pits is partnered with Mariachi Águilas de Oro. Based in Austin and servicing the surrounding areas, these Golden Eagles will bring life to any event you are having, from birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, corporate events, or even a simple performance to enjoy. Guillermo Padilla, one of their trumpet players, is also a member of the Texas paintball scene. Visit them on Facebook and Instagram to check out some of their past performances, or give them a call to book them for your event today. In the Pits is partnered with XTPL Events. The Extreme Tournament Paintball League is a series put on by the Lukow family of Paintball Fit fame that gives the opportunity for players to learn and grow together as a team. 3-man, Challengers and Champions X-Ball, Draft Mech X-Ball, Super 7s, U3v3, even Glow-in-the-Dark Mech X. There's something for everyone at XTPL. Not to mention prize tosses, raffles, and the infamous Paintball Munching Contest. Events happen throughout the year, and the prizes never disappoint. Sign up for an XTPL event today on PB Leagues. In the Pits is partnered with the San Antonio 3v3 Paintball Series. The series provides local players with an affordable, fun opportunity to experience the excitement of tournament paintball and has already seen events sell out. I personally am the head referee for the series, and I can't wait to see you there. Visit SAT3v3.com for details on upcoming events, or head to PB Leagues to register your team today. In the Pits is partnered with QBR. Are you seeking to heal and recover from the toll that paintball puts on the mind and body? QBR has the solution for you. Head to QBRofficial.com and use code PITS10 for 10% off of your order, plus free shipping. QBR, they don't sell broccoli. In the Pits is partnered with Get That Shot. Get That Shot is a local Texas videographer with numerous events experience filming on the Major League Paintball Pro field. Needing coverage for an upcoming event? Message him at GetDat_shot on Instagram and let him know In the Pits sent you. In the Pits is partnered with Paintball Kumite. Paintball Kumite is a program designed by Colt Roberts of professional team San Antonio X Factor to take paintball players of all ages, experience levels, and skill groups and mold them into champions. The program breaks the game down into small, easy-to-learn sessions designed to help you master the fundamentals so that you can elevate your game. Newcomers to the program get a free 1-hour introductory class when mentioning In the Pits. To sign up for a class, message at Paintball Kumite on Instagram.